with my Facebook group, Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. And we're going to get started in a minute. I just need to make sure that our different live streams come on board. So we're just waiting for, we got some YouTube coming on here. And we got our Twitter. And Facebook is coming on, and my Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children page is coming on. So we're just going to take a couple seconds here and just make sure everything's there, because there's a little bit of a delay. And then we'll get started. And I'm very excited tonight because we have a very, very special guest. And I'm sure you'll agree afterwards, after our interview, that this was a very special interview. Okay, so we're going to officially start now. So hello everybody, my name is Bill McPhee, and this is my Facebook group live stream called Helping Parents of Mentally Ill Children. And basically I was hospitalized 6 different times. I lived in 3 different group homes. I had a suicide attempt, and I was spent 5 years on the couch basically doing nothing in a deep dark depression. However, today I love my life and I love what I do. And I'm also the author of this book here. It's called To Cry a Dry Tear, Bill McPhee's Journey of Hope and Recovery with Schizophrenia. And you can find more information about the book on my website at billmcphee.ca, and McPhee is MacPhee. Now, before I introduce Martha, I just have to tell you the story, why Martha is so important in this interview and in my life. Basically, I told you how sick I was, and Martha was my turning point. Martha was my turning point from recovery, for recovery. And I'll tell you what was happening. You know, when you are very going through a depression and very sick, I had no friends, I had no goals. I was just, my life consisted of just laying around in the bedroom and in bed. It's a very, very difficult thing. And one thing that scared me so much was that I used to say, if things don't change, they're going to stay the same. If things don't change, they're going to stay the same. And I hated my same. And my same was basically being on the couch for 5 years. And I thought that 5 years was going to turn into 7 years, and 7 years into 10 years, and 15 years and all that, because we see people that happens to them. So I was scared to death over that. But what I remembered in my schooling, we always think about the negative things in our life, and I can remember what a grade 7 teacher said to me. And she said, you know, Bill, if you don't learn how to write properly in life, you'll never amount to anything. And what she meant about my writing was my penmanship. I wrote like chicken scratch. My penmanship was terrible. So what I did, I had it in my mind, and I said, I really don't know where it came from, but I said this. I said, I'm going to prove to someone that I can do something. So I phoned the Fort Erie Literacy Foundation, and I said, listen, I said, I know how to read and I know how to write, but my penmanship is very, very poor. Can you send somebody over to help me with my penmanship? And basically a couple of weeks go by, and then I get a call from Martha, and Martha is going to be my penmanship tutor. So we would do once a week, and dealing with negative symptoms, that's schizophrenia and my depression, I'd think, oh my God, tonight's the night Martha comes over to do these exercises, and I'd say, oh, I have to wash my hair. And I had hair back in those days, but I used to say I have to wash my hair and brush my teeth and shave, all these things that are difficult to do with negative symptoms. So anyways, once a week, Martha would come and we'd do these penmanship exercises. And before too long, Martha learned more about schizophrenia from me than I did penmanship from her. But Martha took an interest in me, and she said, Bill, she said, you know, I know you're not doing much, which was an understatement, but she said, I go to Niagara College for social work, and why don't you take a course at the college and I'll drive you? And I thought, oh my God, take a course at the college. That means I got to wash my hair, I got to brush my teeth, I got to shave. All these things are different to do. So I did. I signed up for a course. I signed up for a photography course, and I didn't enjoy it, but I did do on the field trips, and I did the darkroom stuff, and I took pictures. I still had that emotional bluntness, that emotional blandness. I didn't enjoy it, but I stuck with it. Then the next thing I know is that Martha's on the phone, and I'm thinking, oh no, Martha, what do you want now? Right? And Martha says, she says, you know, Bill, she says, I'm the seventh chairperson of the Fort Erie Scouts, Beavers, and Cubs, and we need a treasurer. How would you like to be our treasurer? And I thought, oh my God, that means I gotta wash my hair and brush my teeth and shave, all these things that are hard to do. But Martha was a turning point, because I said, okay, well, I'll come to your stupid meeting, Martha. And really what happened is that I met Martha's husband, I met her children, I met Peter, who I started to play racquetball and squash with, and I started to help out with campouts and Cub cars and Apple Day and things like that. And really what it really did, the bottom line, is it gave me new friends who accepted me for who I was and not what I had. And Martha was instrumental in doing that. Now, that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. No, but that's my story. And made some great friends. Peter, who was one of the guys in the scouting and everything. Actually, when I got married in the Philippines, Peter flew over and was my best man for my wedding and everything like that. But anyways, so I'm going to let Martha introduce herself. Martha has a background in social work. She also does mediation. She does lots of stuff. So, Martha, now why don't you come and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, my name's Martha. And first, I just would like to say, Bill, how proud I am of you, and the courage that you show every day in your battle with schizophrenia. You've really been an example to many people, and to me.
Well, thank you.
So I think that's just really important to say.
Well, thank
to
you. Well,
yeah.
thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah,
You're
and you were the turning point. I truly believe that.
Well,
Yeah.
it was not my intention to be that, but because at that time in my life, I was also looking for something to do and something to get involved with. I had just had my youngest child, and was I don't know, I guess restless, and wanted to get involved with things. So I was also looking for something at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
But you remember going to school for social work,
Yes,
right? You were in the
yes,
social work
yeah,
program.
I had gone back to school at that point, and was studying social work at Niagara College. I was doing it through the continuing education program, so it was night school. And well, I would go one night a week and 2 nights a week sometimes. And I think you took a photography course.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a photography course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also you also took mediating courses
Yeah,
and social
yeah.
and your social work degree got you working in multicultural areas. Is that correct?
I was involved. Was involved with the Big Brothers Sisters for many years, and moved into the Multicultural Center about almost 15 years ago now. And I've done a lot of work with a lot of diversity and different people who've experienced a wide variety of trauma and different issues in their life. And I feel very grateful that I'm able to at least listen. I think it's really important to just let people be who they are. It's something I believe people really need. And you know, we live in a world full of shoulds. You should be this and you should be that, and why don't you try this and why don't you try that? And sometimes we just need to be who we are. And sometimes it takes courage, right, to get out of bed in the morning.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah, so so my journey has been influenced by many people, some who've come to me for help, and some who've also helped me. I lost my mother when I was very young, so my aunt was very instrumental in being my champion, being my mentor and my guide, and helping me through some tough times in my life too. And I don't know what else to say. I think it's it's a privilege, I think, to be counted amongst your friends.
And you've done a lot of stuff. You've always been going to school, though. Martha's the kind of person who is busy. Like she's kind of double books and different things like that in your calendar. But you're very busy, and you're always doing something. You're educational, taking online courses, and you got your mediating degree and everything like that. And you're just you're like the energy bunny, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The Energizer Bunny.
I've slowed down a little bit from the learning, but I think I'm still learning every day in life, just through getting up in the morning and going to work and just being with people. I think it's always an interesting challenge.
Right.
One of the things, and I think it applies to you, and it's something I think I would recommend to people who are coping just with life in general or with some mental illness. I like to think of it as working toward mental wellness. But I've become a fan of this fellow named Simon Sinek. I think I've said his name right. He does a few TED Talks.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he talks about just life in general. But one of the things that really captured me was his attitude about sort of today's life. We're just so fast and everything is an instant gratification and so on.
Right.
But in life, really, when we want to achieve something, when we want to build a relationship, it's about consistency. And he uses the example of brushing your teeth or exercising. So if you get into it, it's not going to make any difference on day one, if you work out. But if you make a routine of 20 minutes a day, or you brush your teeth for 2 minutes every day, over time, it's the consistent approach that makes the difference.
And I've learned through my life that people might talk about motivation. Where do you get the motivation, or motivation, everything like that, right? But in my opinion, there's no such thing as motivation. Not at all. What there is, it's all about discipline and habit. Discipline and habit. No matter you need the discipline to create a habit, and you need that to give you the energy to do that habit. But what they say, you do something for 30 days and it's a habit, right? But again, I don't believe in motivation. It's all about what I said. It's all about discipline and habit. And you know what? I think Nike had it wrong. You know how we say that Nike, everybody remembers that, right? Just do it. And you think, how could you improve on that? Well, I think I can improve on that, Martha. I think Nike should be, just do it now.
Yeah.
Just do it now. But a lot of times it does take. Well, a big thing with mental illness and depression and that is why people just can't get in the habit and do that now is because everything seems so meaningless. Because we say, well, why should I do this? It doesn't matter, or it's hopeless, or why should I go for a walk? I don't feel like it. What's gonna do? What difference will it make? It's meaningless. When we're depressed, everything seems meaningless, and we got to get out of that. That's a thing we need to get out of.
But life can be very banal and even boring at times, and it's a reality. And life is messy. I think sometimes we are deceived by this idea of happiness all the time, or being joyful all the time. Life can be joyful for sure, but life is also messy, and things do move slowly, and you do need to have the habit of consistently applying your effort toward the goal that you want, or the other, whatever goal that you're working toward. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times with mental illness, people get stuck. We get stuck where we are, and I think that what people need is we want a life. We need to develop a life, and it's very difficult when we're dealing with a mental illness. And I think in order to do that, at least last later parts of my last few years, I've tried to make my life as stress-free as possible, and also as simple as possible. And I think by being stress-free and having a simple life, you will develop a life. A life will appear. One day you'll wake up out of bed and you'll say, yeah, that's good. I got lots to do, and I got a life. And a big part of that that I tell people is very important in recovery is that we need to schedule a lot of events on our calendar. Even though if you don't want to go or you don't go to them, if we look at our calendar, because as we wake up, we may find days where we want to do something and go and look. We always, a big thing in depression is that, and a big thing with suicide attempts and everything like that, is that we need to give people something to look forward to. Something that's always ahead of us that we're looking forward to. And I think that's very, 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 very important. Like, for example, on Mondays I go to breakfast with some people from our church. On Wednesday night I'll go to a Bible study or something like that. On Thursday we have coffee club. I meet with probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 people from our church. We go to the coffee to Tim Hortons in Stevensville, and we have our meeting there and just chat and everything. And I look forward to those things. I enjoy those things. And with depression, a lot of people don't enjoy things, and but it will come back. It really will if we work at it, or we just try to
even
work
just to have
at
a
it.
plan, even if it's a little
Yeah.
step,
Yeah.
you know, and,
That's right.
and making the habit of taking that step every day.
Right. Now, Martha, this program or my Facebook group page is helping parents of mentally ill children. And tell us a little bit about your experience, because you've had some personal experience. Correct?
I have some personal experience with it in my family, my youngest son, and some members of my extended family as well, who have experienced some challenges with their mental health. And as a parent, as a friend, and a person who's been on the listening side or the supporting side, I think it's a couple of things are quite important. The just listening a person so that they feel heard. I think that's something that I do well. People feel comfortable most of the time. Anyway, that's what I'm told. That's the feedback I get.
Yeah.
I think allowing people to be who they are, as I was saying earlier, because everyone, I mean, we're all human. One of my favorite expressions, which came from a friend of my son's, is we're all the same different people.
Yeah.
And so we all have varying degrees of challenge in our life, some more than others, but we're all different in our unique way.
And you're very compassionate. You're a very compassionate person, and you're a sincere person, right?
Yeah, and I have the capacity to bring a lot of calmness to a crisis situation. I usually fall apart when it's all over. But while it's going on, I'm able to take it. And I've had people in my family say to me that I can take a lot, and that really helps them. It makes them just sort of feel calm or stable.
And I think a thing that, they say 1 out of 5 people will have a mental illness, whether it be schizophrenia, depression, OCD, bipolar, and that's so many people, but people feel like they're alone, that no one else is going through this. And I think that families tend to isolate themselves and not. And I tell people, not just like your thoughts on this, but I tell people, you know what? Like, because a lot of people, they don't tell their family members, like they don't tell their brothers or sisters or aunts or uncles and that, where they would love to help. And like, I mean, how many times are you out of milk and you just wish somebody could go to the store for you and buy a couple quarts of milk, right?
Yeah.
But everybody seems to be closed. A few people from my church just got back from Ethiopia, and though in that culture, they said, well, when somebody's sick, everybody gathers around. People, they don't leave their sick ones alone. But in our North American society, we're kind of ill, and it's like, everybody away, leave us alone, right? But we need to be open and sharing, because, like you say, we're all human. We all have weaknesses, and we just want, we're all in this together.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think we just have to be mindful that we need to give place and space for it. That's it's an important, and we do get busy. I get busy too, but I think it's really important to make time to listen and pay attention.
Yeah.
One of the things I do is I'm a people watcher, so I observe and watch for little things, and sometimes it requires a boldness to just ask that, you know, I noticed that you seem sad, or you seem upset, you don't seem like yourself, and sort of encouraging them to talk about it.
One of the things that you touched on is listening, and my guest, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, my guest was Dan Barrett, and he deals with depression, and he said that what's very, very important is being able to be heard, to listen. That if you're talking to somebody and they're not listening to you, you just lose all credibility. And that's probably, like you say, one of the best things you do is listen, and that's part of your training as well. People want to be heard, and I think most people just want to be understood. We all have a story, and people want to be understood, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it also has to be on their time. And so everyone will have a different place of readiness. Some people are more ready than others. And I think there's also a danger sometimes in oversharing. You know, you have to be, there's a kind of readiness associated with going to those places that are very painful. You know, when, but I think having someone who really cares and who's listening is a big part of helping that person that you care about.
Right. Well, I'm going to just ask Martha if she'd like to say any other words or that. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. I think I would just like to emphasize the importance of a consistent approach to life, to recovery, whether we're mildly or moderately or largely in a challenging space. So the constant application of the strategies, and just letting people in.
And another thing that's important to realize, letting people in, is no one's an island. No one has ever done it themselves. Nobody is an island. We all need people to help us, and that. And one of the things that might be a fault of yours, Martha, but it's hard for you to say no to anything, isn't it?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, especially when it's something I care about or people I care about, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on as a guest with me.
Thank you.
And if you want to learn more about my story, you can find my book on my website, billmcphee.ca, and as well on my website you can also join our newsletter, and you'll never miss an interview. So in our newsletter that comes out weekly, we tell you about our past guests with links, and we also tell you about our future, who's coming on the next week, because this is live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. And just thank you everybody for being here. Share this if you will. Tell your friends. Join our group, helping parents of mentally ill children, and we want to be a support to you. So thank you, Martha. Thank you, folks, and have a good night, and may God bless. Bye-bye for now. See you next week. Bye-bye.